most people overcomplicate this, and it can be really simple. All you need to know is, yo Agwan, hope you're having a great day. Now in this video, I am going to be walking through beat mixing 101. I'm going to be explaining what is mixing a beat, so you can understand basically what mixing is, because like it's very easy to overcomplicate mixing and to think you got to do a bunch of things, but really when you understand the basics of it, you can really simplify it and make it a whole lot easier. Now if you don't know who I am, I'm Jay Carteret from jcarteret.com, teaching you how to be better at music, online business and online marketing. This is the #1 spot for musicians and creatives that don't want to be starving artists. So if that sounds like you, click on that subscribe button, check out the rest of the content on the channel, because you will love it here, guaranteed. Okay, now let's get straight into this, shall we? Now I do have a beat mixing template that you can check out, link down below, which will basically just make all of this super easy for you. But I want to walk through what beat mixing actually is. Okay, so this is a beat that I made today. Let's listen back to this so you can hear basically what's going on here. I will have the master channel on, but then we're going to walk through what mixing is, what you aim to get out of mixing, and how you should approach it. Okay, so let's play this back real quick. This is the intro, then it's a verse, then it's a chorus, so you can kind of get an understanding of what's going on in the song and of all the elements, which is really important. That's a very important part of mixing, basically making sure that you hear all the elements, but we'll talk about that in a bit. Okay, so let's play this back. This is called Raid Cooking. Okay, so what is mixing, right? What is the point of beat mixing? What do you need to do? All that sort of stuff. Let's get into that really quickly. So I'm gonna have to turn off our master, which is just ozone 9, because if I don't do that, then you know there's going to be loads of glitching throughout the video, and that's just not going to be great. So this will sound considerably lower than before. This is what it sounds like. Basically, mastering is just bringing everything up and making everything louder, making everything sound a little bit cleaner. I'll do a video on mastering at some point in the future. I do believe that will be very useful to you. But if you want that, let me know in the comment section down below. But what is beat mixing? What is the intention? What are you supposed to do with it? Okay, now a lot of people, they overcomplicate beat mixing. They think it's, you know, this otherworldly thing and you got to do a bunch of stuff and all that sort of stuff. No, what beat mixing is basically making sure you can hear all elements of the song or of the beat together. Okay, so everything has its own space. That's all you need to know for beat mixing. You just want everything to have its own space, and after that, it's stylistic choices, having things sound the way you want them to sound. Like that's after that. So firstly, you know, it's EQing and levels, making sure that things aren't clashing. For example, EQing is the first thing you want to do. Okay, you want to basically make sure that your sounds sound the way you want them to sound. Okay, and make sure that they're not taking up frequencies that are going to be used by more important instruments in those frequencies. For example, I think this is where everything basically plays. let's go to song, and then we can solo everything from here. So this is our main guitar, okay? And here are the effects that I've got in it. Now, I like to keep my effects really simple. I don't do processing if it's not needed, okay? So you don't see 7 compressors and echo and all that sort of stuff and reverb here, because it's not necessary, although I have sent this to a reverb over here. But the main thing you want to do is EQing, and I do some EQing and then add some RC20, and then I route the audio right back in here and have it EQ'd. So it's always EQ'd twice, even if I only have one of the EQs on, okay? Now with this particular guitar, this is using my guitar beat mixing template. I have basically taken out the low end, so I've rolled off the lows so that this instrument is not very prominent in the low end over here. The reason why you want to do that for pretty much all of your melodies and pretty much all of your instruments is because the low end is where your bass is going to sit. So your bass instruments you want to be around here. For example, your 808, your synth bass, your guitar bass, whatever type of bass instrument you're going to be having, you don't want all the other melodies and all the other instruments in your arrangement to be taking up that space, because if it is, it's going to be harder to hear the actual bass elements that are important, okay? The reason that is because when multiple things are taking up the same frequency range, it starts to get muddy. And what that basically means, like when people are saying, oh, this is a muddy mix, what that means is you can't really hear all the elements of the beat clearly, okay? They're kind of squashing together. It's kind of getting muddy, okay? So this particular guitar, we want it to sit in the mid because it's like the main instrument, okay? We got a little bit of high end so you can hear the guitar. Generally, you know, I squash my melodies really into the mid, and I get rid of most of the high end. But with the guitar, you kind of want to leave a little bit of high end on here, yeah, depending on what kind of guitar you're using and what kind of vibe you're going for. But generally you want to roll off the lows and you want to roll off some of the highs, okay? So that's like your basic EQing. I can get into more EQing in a different video, but this is just the basics of mixing and what your mindset is supposed to be when you're approaching this. So with the EQing, what you want to do is you want to approach it subtractively rather than additively, okay? So what that means is you want to take stuff away more than add stuff. So as you can see, there's no boosting here. I'm just taking things away. I'm just getting rid of frequencies over here, getting rid of frequencies over here, because we don't need them in this instrument because they're covered by other instruments. Except of the high end, I generally don't have a lot of high end in my beats because that's generally where you want more space for the vocals, okay? So you're definitely going to get rid of the low end in 80% of your melodies, 80% of your instruments and whatnot, if they're not bass instruments, because you don't want those instruments clouding up the area that's going to be taken up by the bass. And this is the same mindset that you can bring to all your other instruments. Basically, with EQing, you want to make sure that all your instruments, all the things that are playing, have their own individual space in the mix. So with the verse guitar, that doesn't matter because that's not going to hit at the same time as the chorus guitar. But when we bring in stuff like the chord pad, which is basically, I've got, you know, this sort of, I think this is called a band pass when you do this. And what I've done is I've taken off a lot of the high end to like 2000. I've taken off a lot of the low end to about 200. So we're not getting in the way of the bass, and we're not getting in the way of anything in the high end. And we've also just brought the levels down a little bit. And this is what that sounds like. Oh, let me just chorus pad, please. Let's bring it over there. And this is also at a higher octave than the guitar. And what this does is it makes sure that they're not actually clashing because they're doing different things. This is an octave lower, so this won't be covering up the chorus pad and the pad won't be covering up the guitar. Let's hear them together. Now, I like my background instruments, like I like my main instrument to be the thing that you hear the most, and then everything else to subtly give you some ambiance and give you a little bit of extra, a little bit of glitter over there, basically. So that's what I like to do with my instruments. So that's how I mix them, okay? You can also look at the levels and just see how things are hitting to make sure that everything's in line of where you want it to be. But now if you listen to this chorus top melody, this is basically to go with the chorus guitar and to just give it a little bit more oomph. Let's listen back to that. So that is in the same octave as the chorus guitar, but the thing with this is it's a layer. I'm layering the guitar with it so that it adds more impact, and this is also something that you'll do in your mixing. For example, if you just need a little bit more impact for a specific part of your beat, you can just add a layer. Okay, now with this top melody, I believe we're leaving, yeah, we've gotten rid of that low end again. We've gotten rid of most of the high end. We've got that to like 5,000, and then we added RC20 on top of that. I basically add RC20 on all my melodies. Go to jcarterator.com/RC20 if you want to grab that. It's a great plugin. I'll leave a link down below as well, because I just use RC20 all the time, and it's definitely one of my main mixing plugins. I generally just use EQing, might use a love filter here and there. I use RC20. I have been experimenting more with reverb, for example, Neoverb and whatnot. And I recently got I think the Sound Toys bundle, which is super expensive. So I'm not going to go super deep into that, but that also opens some mixing possibilities. Okay. So basically all I'm trying to do is accentuate my main melody, but make sure that I'm also adding dynamics. So in the beginning part of this chorus, let's just play everything so you can kind of get some understanding of what's going on. In the beginning part of this chorus, we've got the guitar, we've got the bell, and we've got the pad. And then in the second part, we've got the guitar, bell, pad, and the arp. Okay, we also have a high version of the guitar. Let me just play this by itself. That just gives it a little bit more oomph and has you feeling, okay, this is the chorus. Like generally with the chorus, if you go up an octave, it feels more like a chorus. It feels like you've risen, okay? And with the verse, you generally want to go down an octave to kind of chill things out. That's a very easy mixing or arrangement tip there. But let's listen to these melodies. They'll all come in together, and then we'll look into the arp and we'll look into the mixing for that. So let's play this back. And as you can hear, all these other melodies that I've got going on are all very subtle, and they don't beat up my main melody. They don't get in the way of my main melody. You hear the main melody and you hear the other things around. It's like, ooh, what's that? What's that? And my main melody is panned to the left, and all these other accents are panned to the right, except for the pad. The pad is in the middle. And what this does is it creates space in your track and actually makes it easier for you to differentiate and for you to separate these elements. Okay, now something that you might have heard is to mix in mono, and what this does, if you mix in mono, basically it means you've just got no stereo separation, so there is no pan left and pan right. And what this does is it makes you need to mix better basically, because if you don't, everything's just going to be super muddy because everything's definitely sitting on top of each other. So first, let me go to the arp. Let's actually bring this back from mono. So put that into stereo again. I'll show you it playing back in mono in a second. But we'll go to this arp, okay? And we'll look at the EQing that we've got going on. And we basically just got low end cut to 200, a high end cut to about 2.5k, and then I also add RC20 and I used the VHS preset on that. It always had some nice good effects. Okay, and with that, let's play back this exact same part, but let's turn it into mono and let's see if it still sounds good. I don't know, because I haven't mixed in mono in ages because I just use my template and everything just sounds good in the end. But let's play this back and see if everything's sounding fine. sounds perfect. Like you can hear the ARP come in, that adds an extra melody and adds some extra interest to the beat. Then you've got the bell, which, you know, blends in because it's basically the same melody. You can't even really tell that it's there. And then you've got the chord pad just being in the background, just adding some more oomph, adding some more mid-range to the melody, just making everything seem fuller. Okay, so generally you're just going to approach things by, you know, EQing and adding a little bit of processing depending on what's needed to be done. Now, if this chorus, if the guitar had super high points and super low points in terms of volume, then I would add a compressor and whatnot, but we don't need that, okay, because everything sounds fine. So let's bring everything in, and with, you know, all the drums, we just got some EQing as well. I'm not going to go through all the EQing that we've got, but basically we're cutting out the low end, and, you know, we're cutting out other parts. We might boost a little bit here and there. I think we're just cutting out the low end over here and have a little bit of a high end boost with this snare, or I think it's, yeah, snare basically. So that's that. If you want to see all my EQs, you can just get my template, link down below. Go to jcartray.com/guitar trap FL. That's my guitar trap template. You can go there and you can find my R&B trap mixing template as well, but that will have your beats half mixed before you even get to the mixing stage. But basically, mixing 101, you just want everything to have its own space in the beat, and you want to be able to hear everything coming out in the way that you want it to. And once that's done, everything else is just taste. For example, I could add a filter at some point in the beat and whatnot, just to, you know, add a totally different dynamic to the beat and have that change up. And if we was to listen back to all of this, we'll hear all the drums coming in, we'll hear everything hitting, and we'll also hear the melodies, and everything will sound pretty good. So let's listen back. And then when I'm mixing, I like to make sure that the loudest part of my beat hits -9, and that just gives me space to master my beat. Like with mastering, you're basically just pushing your beat up to, you know, I go to -3 so that it still has headroom for the artist, but you're basically just cranking on the beat. But basically with mixing, you want everything to sound right before you master. Mastering is not for fixing your beat and having everything, like getting rid of imperfections. That's what the mixing is for. The mixing is for getting everything to sound the way that you want it. So if there's like a really annoying thing that's going on, like the melody just sounds like it just hurts your ear, you probably need to go in with EQing and get rid of whatever frequency that is. You'll need to, you know, do an EQ sweep. I think, have I done a video on EQ sweeps? I think I should have. I might have. If not, then leave a comment down below and I'll make a video on that. But that's the basics, okay? EQing, main thing, basically, when mixing, like that is the main thing. If you just EQ and do nothing else, you'll have good results. Like that's basically what mixing is. It's EQing, making sure that when certain instruments are in there, they're not clashing with other instruments. The most important instruments have their space, and you can hear the most important instruments the most. And then you have, you know, your background layers that accentuate your instruments, and then you have the drums and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, if you want to grab my template, link down below. Also, you can sign up to my free music production course by going to jcartray.com/free trap course. In that course, you'll learn more about, you know, just how to build your beat from scratch. I got a little bit of mixing in there as well, and you'll get some more in-depth information of the different aspects you need to know to create a beat and make it sound professional and sound good, basically. So that's that. If you got any questions or any other tutorials you want me to make, please let me know in the comment section down below. And in the next video, you'll learn more about music, online business, and online marketing. I'll see you there. Peace out.